This is your WCIA 3 forecast first, sponsored by CIBM Bank.
Kevin's weather on the road, out in the weather tonight. We are up into Ford County right now. We've been driving the roads, I-57, US 45. We got into some heavy snow bands, but I gotta tell you right now, it's actually stopped snowing, okay? I wanna show you what it looks like on the Storm Tracker Doppler radar, and we've had this skinny little band that moved across I-57. It is pushing off to the east, and we're getting reports of some sun that's starting to peek out in some areas, believe it or not, and melting away some of that snow. We're going to talk more about what to expect in terms of additional snow tonight, and we're out here where they're dealing with some power issues. I'll show you that. We bring you live Kevin's weather on the road and WCIA 3 News. It starts right now.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 6.
Downed power lines like that one were just one issue today as wind gusts topped 70 miles an hour. A high wind warning is still in effect for part of central Illinois. Good evening, I'm Jessica Coons.
And I'm Jennifer Roscoe. Wind wasn't the only problem. Add heavy rain and snow to the equation. It wasn't great, but the worst is over. We have team coverage for you tonight. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy is live in Ford County. Meteorologist Jacob Dickey is live in the tracking center. Amanda Brennan live over there in Champaign. But first, okay, to Jacob, what are we looking at right now?
Yeah, as we watch things out here, we are for sure the worst is past us now. We are seeing improvements rapidly. In fact, some folks out there saying, hey, I've got some sunshine in parts of central Illinois. Our snow band is exiting to the east, just some light precip on the backside here. The wind, though, still an issue for us across the region. You'll see our current wind gusts here. Still some gusts across the area of 20 to 35 miles an hour. Those wind gusts sustained even higher than that. We've got some 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. That's nothing compared to what we had earlier today. Some of our highest wind gusts were between 60 and 75 miles an hour. Here's that high wind warning. It will continue for a little while longer, generally along and east of I-57. Next couple of hours, rapid improvement out there. And then we'll turn our attention to the damage that has been left behind. On scene of some of that is Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy. Kevin, you're in Ford County. We can see those slushy roads behind you. We know you've been seeing power lines down and vehicles in the ditch. Tell us more of what you've seen out there in the storm tracker.
You got that right. So not just power lines, but I'm going to step out of the way and look down there. You can see there are a couple of power poles that are leaning over the road. This is just north of Paxton, okay, just north of Paxton, and on 500 Road, 1900, and kind of near Market. So there's two power poles down. Power crews are on scene here, and multiple poles are down along this road. And I was actually hearing them kind of talk about this, and they were saying, oh man, this is going to be a tough one to kind of figure out and to try to get these poles out. So they're out here trying to work on that. Here's the problem. We've had 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. The wet snow, I'm just going to bend down as we've been talking about here. It's a really slushy snow, wet, it's heavy. So power lines, strong winds, and there have been some major issues out here tonight. And we've got more coverage about that with what has happened with this multifaceted winter storm. We'll send it back to you to talk more about that.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Of course, we've got some of those live road conditions we've been watching. They are going to improve as that slushy snow, as he throws that out there. You can see mainly north of I-74, the main areas of concern. Still some slick spots out there. I do want to mention real fast those power outage numbers. Seth is in here. He's working on the weather blog. All those maroon dots, or at least 1,000 customers out of power in counties. We'll have more on those numbers and a look at your forecast later on in the show. Jess and Jennifer.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Now the damage has been widespread across central Illinois.
The issues go beyond the down power lines and down trees. Cars and trucks have had their challenges as well. We continue our team coverage with WCIA 3's Amanda Brennan live in Champaign. Amanda, you've been out all day. What are you seeing?
Sure, Jessica. I've been out on the roads like you had mentioned. I've seen anything between down trees, down power lines, big branches down as well. And as I'm driving around, I came across this. I'm right behind Champaign Central High School here in town. Look over this shoulder. This athletic sign behind me here is blown over. It's warped a little bit. And over this shoulder, some of the metal fencing is down. It's in the road a little bit, but not causing any traffic problems here. But let's take a look at other traffic video from earlier today, this afternoon. This was I-74 today in between Mahomet and Champaign. That red car that you can see, it's off the road, but just ahead of it, there's a semi-truck rolled over. Now, the weather's created challenges for lots of people today, especially for a man in Bement. This morning, there was a small fire at his house unrelated to the weather, and it was all downhill from there.
We were out in the shop working, just a normal day. We knew that rain was coming down.
But Cody Jividen was never expecting that rain and wind to rip apart his business in Bement.
We actually had a customer out in the shop, and all of a sudden we heard a loud bang.
They looked outside and saw this.
The entire roof is it's soda canned right off the building, right into the backyard.
That's not the only problem. The ceiling of Abel's Automotive is leaking, and there's no power either.
Can't use lifts, can't actually run a business.
He says some of the wiring and the outside of their building is damaged too.
When the roof did go off, the center of the garage doors were actually bowed in about 4 inches, and you could see daylight up underneath.
But Jividen is calling it a best case scenario for a bad situation.
No cars were on the lifts, everything was intact and pretty much almost done for the day when it hit.
Now he's working with insurance to work on some of those next steps moving forward here, hoping to start making repairs shortly. He's also aiming to reopen the automotive shop sometime next week. Reporting live in Champaign, I'm Amanda Brennan, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
All right, Amanda, thank you so much. Now, after the rain and amidst the wind, it was all the snow. As you can see here in Champaign, it was coming down hard for a while. And if that's not enough, some of it froze, making driving a task in and of itself. We had almost everything Mother Nature could deal out today. For more videos and pictures and information on those power outages still happening, you can go to our winter weather blog. We also have a winter weather center, which includes road conditions, radar, and more. You can find all of that right now on WCIA.com.
2 Taylorville Township workers are being called heroes after saving someone from this house. It caught fire yesterday on Houston Street near South Street. WCIA 3's Theodora Coulivares has the story.
The scene is quiet around this boarded up house, but just over 24 hours ago, it was up in flames.
That's probably going to end up being a total loss for the house.
15 firefighters responded to the call.
We had the fire under control in about 20 minutes once we arrived on scene. And then, we do search for more fire and overhaul work and everything like that to make sure everything's put out.
But before the fire department made it here to the home, officials say 2 township workers saw the fire and rushed over to help the homeowner.
They went around the house and they heard him towards the back door, so they forced the door open a little bit and were able to drag him out to safety.
Now officials want to recognize them for their actions.
These 2 guys are heroes, and we will honor them for their heroic efforts at a future council meeting.
Taylorville's fire chief says the 2 helped save the homeowner's life.
Without them being there, the outcome would have been much, much worse.
And the mayor says their willingness to step in doesn't surprise him.
A lot of people in our community will go far beyond what is necessary to save people's lives, and we see that a lot more common than what maybe other communities do.
Reporting in Taylorville, Theodora Coulivares, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
The man was taken to a hospital in Springfield. The fire chief says he was in serious condition last night, but has improved.
A trip to the state championship was on the line. Will Central Illinois have a girls team playing in it?
And also tonight,
he was in on a $4,000 bond.
and his family couldn't afford to pay the bail, where several inmates just ended a hunger strike because of high bonds.
Here we are, weather back on the road out here, guys. It's just a slushy mess out here. Lots of vehicles that are going really slow. Again, we're just north of Paxton, but we ran into a little bit of an issue here. One of the trains right along the railroad tracks there in Paxton, across the tracks, and so now vehicles are having to turn around. We've got more about this forecast and how it's going to start to get better. It's going to get better, I promise. And we've got that in the forecast next.
Now, Central Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Kevin Lighty.
Wow, we are out here, Kevin's weather, on the road in front of me. Well, some of those heroes out there that are trying to keep those roads nice and clear. Those plow drivers, whether it's on county roads or the interstates, they're out there doing their best, but they are clearing away a really heavy, wet, slushy kind of snow. And I got to tell you, the good news is they're able to kind of move this off, and the snow has stopped in a lot of areas. So I want to show you here real quick the storm tracker Doppler that's got a lot of this beginning to push out of the area. That is good news, but again, there is the potential for some of this to kind of freeze. So the radar is showing things clearing out of the area. And what I'm going to do is let Jacob kind of explain a little bit more about what to expect here through the rest of tonight. Good news is things calming down a little bit, but I think the damage has been done in a lot of areas here tonight.
Yeah, that's right, Kevin. That band that came on through here, you could see that quick transition to snow before it departed with all of that heavy, wet snow out there. It's pretty much clearing the state line now. There's just a little bit of light moisture in the backside. We've had some folks say, hey, I've got some sunshine in parts of central Illinois sneaking on through this evening before the sun goes down. And so very quick hit from Mother Nature as we keep an eye on things. Now, Future Track shows that we do have dry conditions coming tonight. The wind also expected to come down. The other thing that's helping is look at our surface temperatures. They're still above freezing out there, so that slushy, wet, watery snow is melting slowly but surely here. In a couple of hours, it'll be a different story in those areas that got that heavy, wet snow. There's those wind gusts. The wind also starting to pull to the east. There are still problems out there, still power outages happening as we speak, and that may be the case until the strongest winds depart. Tonight, those temperatures will drop below freezing. I think road crews get a handle on things. There could still be some slick spots where there's water. We're down to 28 in Champaign and in Danville, 28 in Springfield. Quick check it tomorrow. Into the 40s, some of us maybe the 50s here, a little bit of cloud cover into the afternoon. You can see 49 for Mahomet, 51 in Forsyth, even warmer as we go into Sunday, into the 50s. Check out Monday. In fact, Monday's highs, we got mid-60s back on the way here. That, though, will be the end of the warmth for us here as we watch our 7-day forecast really quick. By next week, Old Man Winter makes a return here. We don't have any precip sticking out to us, but 30s and 40s for highs with lows in the 20s.
Old Man Winter can go.
Right?
All right, thank you. It took 2 overtimes to do it. Why fans are still talking about last night's big win over Michigan.
Plus this.
These funds actually helped allow us to take everybody on the trip.
They need more. How you can help this band March 4th.
Live from your local news leader, Jennifer Roscoe, Jessica Coons, Central Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Kevin Lighty and Brett Behrens on sports. You're watching WCIA 3 News at 6.
You're used to hearing them around the U of I campus on game days and at parades and other events around Central Illinois.
Now the Marching Illini, they're raising money to help make sure they can keep traveling and performing for you. It's part of their March 4th campaign. The band's director is thankful for the university's support, but says there are still gaps to fill. Barry Hauser says the money raised goes toward scholarships, new instruments, and instrument repair.
Trips to Michigan that we took this past fall, Michigan State, when we did a trip to the Red Box Bowl, we weren't able to take everybody because of the bowl payout. So these funds actually helped allow us to take everybody on the trip.
Now, if you want to support the band, you can donate online. We have a link on our website, WCIA.com, or stop by Slim Chickens in Champaign tomorrow. Some of the money will go back to the group.
From a busy Thursday night, Brett, to a busy Friday night.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Sexual
No breaks.
titles up for grabs. No breaks this time of year, but that's what March is, and we love it here in the sports department. We will hear from Lincoln coming up as well, trying to play for a state title. They got to get a win today first. More from the Railers next.
You're watching WCIA 3 Sports with Brett Behrens.
A trip to the state championship game on the line for Lincoln as the Railers put their undefeated record to the test in the Class 3A semifinals this afternoon in Normal. Lincoln faces Deerfield for the chance to advance at CEFCU Arena, home of the Redbirds, and this was the Chloe Froby show. She takes it herself for a runner in the lane. 14 of the team's 16 points in the first quarter alone belonged to her. Then Becca Heitzig driving in transition, gets the bucket to go and the foul. 34-23 Lincoln at the break. Jenna Bowman launches from the corner. This is good. That shot sets the new single-season individual record for made threes as the Railers pull away, and then Heitzig unleashes to Froby on the fast break. This day belonged to her. A new state record, 45 points, 76-56 the final. Here's WCIA 3's Andy Olson with more on the Railers.
Chloe Froby finally cracked a smile while being subbed off with a minute left in Lincoln's dominating win over Deerfield as the junior nearly outscored the Warriors herself on the way to the state title game.
You know, I was just thinking about all the hard work we put in, all the 3.5, 4-hour practices that we've spent in the gym and multiple gyms. You know, it's all paid off. This is what we play for. This was the goal, and to be able to accomplish it is just the best feeling in the world.
Froby's 45 points is an all-class girls record here at the state series. But for a short amount of time, Deerfield did take the lead in the second quarter. The Railers responded in kind by holding the Warriors to just 6 points in the third quarter.
We just told our kids before the game, be prepared for that. They might go on a 15-point run. They might go on a 6-point run. Just be ready for that. Don't panic.
Our coaches felt pretty sure, but you know, I still had my doubts, and just getting to be here feels amazing.
Lincoln now improves to 36-0 on this season, and with a win over Nazareth in the state title game, not only would it be the Railers' first ever title, they would also become the first team in 3A history to go undefeated. Reporting in Normal, Andy Olson, WCIA 3 Sports.
Andy, thanks. Illinois women's basketball takes on 3-seed Maryland tonight in the Big Ten tournament quarterfinals in Minneapolis, set to start about 8:30 depending on the game before it. Terps, one of the highest-ranked teams in the country, already beat the Illini once this season. The Illinois men escaped a wild one last night in a double overtime victory over Michigan. Up 7 with about 2 minutes to play in regulation. The Wolverines rallied to force OT. Then they took a 7-point lead in the extra session before the Illini came storming back to force a second overtime. All part of an up-and-down ride that has been the 2022-23 season.
As crazy as it sounds, it's a little bit comforting, because you know you're never out of it, and you know you've got real dudes. You know, you've got guys who can go make those plays. A slow start, we'll be okay. Down 10, just one possession at a time. You know, I kind of know what to say now, you know, and how to react to it. You know, it'd be nice if we didn't do it, but we do.
Illinois now 20-10 this season. They visit Purdue Sunday in the regular season finale. And speaking of finales, the last full court Friday on the season on tap tonight at 10. We wrap up with sectional final games. 6 area teams still alive in that chase for a championship. Our crews across the map making the trek so you don't have to get out in the weather. Look for all those scores and highlights coming up tonight at 10.
All right, Brett, thanks. Have you ever tried to use an umbrella in weather like today? Why one young man's attempt is a bright spot to our day.
Plus this.
Between like a bright orange and yellow is about 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit.
We were always taught not to play with fire, but a woman who didn't listen made a living tempering, pounding, and forging art from molten material.
All right, here's your bright spot. It's a good one today. This is from Springfield. 4-year-old Brennan went out for a stroll on this windy day, and you can see what happened to his umbrella, but it didn't faze that little guy. He was dressed for any inclement weather coming his way. All right, we want to see your pictures and videos. Email us, send them on Facebook, news@WCIA.com.
Well, we have our share of thunderstorms here in central Illinois. But during a snowstorm, we'll have details and let you hear it again after the break.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 6:30.
The gentleman we bailed out today had lost over 20 pounds.
He was one of 7 who went on a hunger strike at the Champaign County Jail, but the sheriff says it's now over. The inmates refused to eat or drink for almost a week.
They were protesting high bonds, but that's not all. WCIA 3's Jamal Williams is live in our newsroom. Jamal, what else were they upset about?
Well, Jennifer, they say they've been away from their families for too long. An advocate for these inmates says one of them has been in jail for more than a year. As for the bonds, they range from $4,000 to $1 million. I spoke with a volunteer from the Champaign County Bailout Coalition. Brian Doliner says he's been in contact with the inmates and their families. He says at least one of those mothers told him their son is still not eating. Coalition volunteers helped pay for one person's bail. They split it with his family, and he was released this morning. But they know more families need help.
They can't afford to raise this kind of money. $2,000 they don't have on hand. And so they are hurting. They are people. They're not just policies on paper.
The inmates also said they haven't been able to talk with their lawyers in months. We talked with the sheriff. He said the jail doesn't withhold any phone calls from lawyers and that judges decide bonds. The coalition volunteer says that the Pre-Trial Fairness Act or the elimination of cash bail would have helped those people get out sooner, but it's been held up in court. Back to you.
All right, Jamal, thank you.
A Mattoon woman was gearing up to open her own petting zoo, but one lightning strike snatched that plan away. It caused a fire at her barn and attached apartment last month. Now the community is asking people to help her. She had more than 200 animals. 30 of them died, and she has to rehome the ones who survived. Her greenhouse was destroyed along with most of her belongings, but she's not letting the devastation derail her future.
But that's my dream. I'm gonna keep it alive. Once I started getting goats and getting chickens and growing things, and I felt in my heart that's what I'm meant to do.
She had started selling the items she was growing, like fruits and vegetables, at farmers markets. If you want to help her and her son, you can find that information on our website. Fire departments and EMS providers around the state are getting a slice of a $1.5 million grant from the Fire Marshal's office. That money will be used for equipment like rescue tools, cameras, and jackets. Crews in Sydney and Gifford are getting money. For the full list, you can go to WCIA.com.
It's a free ride where students can take the bus, and it doesn't have to be to class.
Plus, it's a destination playground in central Illinois. It's getting some help from the state, where your kids will see a major upgrade.
Our camera for the first half. Jess can do the second half.
The news continues here on WCIA 3, your local news leader.
And we start with an update. Decatur High School students can now travel for free on the city's buses.
That's at any time of day or night. Last month, city council members approved an agreement with the school district to give students free rides as long as they have a valid student ID card. Previously, students were limited to riding for free during school hours only. They had to pay for rides at all other hours.
Urbana's Meadowbrook Park Playground has been around since 1995. Now it's getting a more than $500,000 makeover. It's all thanks to the governor's office. Urbana Park District officials say it will be all-inclusive for kids, parents, and caretakers. New additions will include musical instruments, zip lines, and a saucer swing. Officials say they need to update the current wood structure. They say the planning process included surveys and engagement with community members and kids in Urbana.
Getting this $550,000 really helps us take it much further and provide a better product to the community. So we've heard what they want and now we're actually able to deliver on that in a really, really meaningful way.
Construction is set to start next year.
At one time, only 6 blacksmiths in the country were women, where one of them had a shop here in central Illinois.
And plus, Kevin's back to let us know when we can say goodbye to all this winter weather.
Now, Central Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Kevin Lighty.
We've lived through quite the day. Did you hear that? Did you hear that on there? It's quite the day. Thunder snow. Lots of you heard it. Crazy weather here in Central Illinois. This is a day that'll be unmatched for a while here with the strong winds, the thunder snow, all of that here across the region. It has been very, very much. That video came from, we got that from Seymour today. So lots of you have said, hey, I heard thunder snow. Very rare. And the amount of thunder snow that we got as well here, crazy to look at. Look at this earlier afternoon. As this band of snow started to transition here, I'll zoom that radar forward a little bit. You'll notice all of a sudden the snow starts to overspread. And then we got a blitz of lightning and thunder there between 2 and 3 o'clock across a large swath of Central Illinois. The good news is now is the snow is exiting. We've got a little bit of light sprinkles and light snow showers in the backside. That's still something that we're keeping an eye on, so we will monitor that as we move on through. But for the most part, as far as snow and wind goes, we are on the downward slide here. Let's talk snowfall amounts. These are some initial reports that came on in, had some 2 to 3 inch reports from Ford and Iroquois County right as expected. Some surprise areas. Springfield got over 2 inches. A slushy, wet mess of snow in Central Illinois. Things are a lot quieter in Champaign right now. The temperatures still above freezing here, 37 with that west and northwest wind noticeable. We can see across the state that cold air still in place here, but that is allowing that slushy wet snow to melt and will keep it from being too much of an issue. Look at those wind gusts. The strongest wind gusts now off to the east still have some wind gusts of 25 to 35 miles an hour. And so we're going to watch all of that closely. Now, someone who's been out in that is Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty. There he is right now. Looks like Kevin's in Iroquois County. Kevin, you've seen some of the damage. You are still seeing snow on the roads. Give us an update on what's going on where you are.
Slushy roads for sure. I mean, we traveled up Iroquois into Iroquois County. We're actually in Onarga. I'm here in downtown Onarga right now, and the roads are still kind of a mess out here for sure. But the plows are out there doing their thing. It's currently not snowing right now, but we're concerned about, again, as you mentioned, how roads may kind of freeze back over because it is really wet. Also, it wouldn't be a Kevin's Weather on the Road if I didn't find a pizza spot to stop by and have some food. We're at Francis Pizza out here, and I did actually order a pizza. I figured, hey, why not stop by a downtown little pizza shop, can't beat it. And so we got to grab some food for the road. It's a Kevin's Weather on the Road still, after all. But again, the roads are still, they're kind of iffy there because they're so slushy. You'll be driving, all of a sudden you'll come across this big area of slush, and you'll kind of, have to, grip that steering wheel even harder. So again, still kind of slick out there tonight, but the precipitation is coming to an end, but we're concerned about things freezing back over again. We're going to send things back there. I think we're going to go back to Jessica and Jennifer. And again, as I mentioned before, it wouldn't be a Kevin's Weather on the Road if I didn't find a little food spot. But Francis Pizza, never tried it, but we're going to try it out here tonight.
And I'm looking forward to you sharing as well, Kevin.
Wait, I got my photographer Ryan, who's been here with us all day, and I ordered half sausage for me, gets half pepperoni. Unfortunately, it probably won't make it back to the studio. So.
Yeah,
it never does.
It didn't sound promising. All right, thank you. It was a man's job for hundreds of years.
How a woman moved the task of putting shoes on horses to making art out of steel. That's next from the vaults.
This is WCIA 3 News, your local news leader.
For Women's History Month, From the Vault will feature stories about amazing women WCIA 3 has covered over the years.
We start in Coles County, where our Matt Metcalf rediscovered a woman whose passion for her craft runs red hot. It's From the Vault.
Blacksmithing is hardly a common occupation these days, but WCIA has produced stories about 9 different blacksmiths over the last 30 years. For a craft that most people think is extinct, that's a lot. So what's the allure for us at home or for the artist? WCIA's Matt Olson and photographer Scott Hatch spoke with smithy Lorelei Sims back in 2000.
Blacksmithing, the intensely heated craft of calluses, forged forearms, battered boots, and anvils apathetic to punishment. This is man's work, man. But not in Charleston.
Hi, I'm Lorelei Sims, and welcome to 5 Points Blacksmith Shop.
Her shop screams the job, the forges, hammers, and vices of the loudest. But Lorelei Sims can only talk about the profile she doesn't fit.
Male, pretty big, long, sinewy hands, strong.
Lorelei headed off to college with artistic intentions, and as she earned undergraduate and graduate degrees, metal art became her focus, and mild steel became her medium. Although Lorelei apparently received some genetic persuasion.
It brought back a lot of history for me because I come from 7 generations of coppersmiths in Denmark. And as I was growing up, I didn't have that connection with metalwork per se until I started to get into college when I started to do art.
So Lorelei opened up a shop in Charleston where her artistic path took a practical jog. Because as she manipulated metal,
this is called a basket weave.
The marketplace shaped her work.
I didn't anticipate having what I have right now. I really thought of this space as my personal studio space to pursue my work in metal art. And it just so happens that I have one of the only facilities in Charleston that does welding repair.
So a day at the shop might find Lorelei delicately crafting a steel rose or repairing a wood chipper chute. Of course, there's some peril to all this tempering, pounding, and quenching of nearly molten metal.
Between like a bright orange and yellow is about 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a little warm.
A tad. Playing with fire has its price. Contact with the menacing metal would be bad, real bad. Yeah, Lorelei's tough as nails, or tough as the railroad spikes she renders into decorative knives. She's returned to a mountain of awaiting work, enough to keep her busy for a year, and to a trade that's developing a second X chromosome.
I'm very happy to say that there are more and more women joining blacksmithing, mostly as hobbyists or as artists using blacksmithing as their medium.
Certainly, she is and will long be the only blacksmith named Lorelei in the country.
Maybe the world. Maybe the world.
Sims is still smithing today in Charleston, and she periodically teaches beginners blacksmithing classes. From the Vault, I'm Matt Metcalf.
Are you just checking in? We're going to have a look at your top stories in Central Illinois.
That includes some memorable weather, how Central Illinois took a punch from Mother Nature.
This is WCIA 3 News, your local news leader.
Time to take a look at the top local stories of the day. It's been a crazy day of weather. There were downed power lines, trees, and semi-trucks this afternoon as wind gusts topped 70 miles an hour. Heavy rain then turned to snow and ice-covered roads.
The sheriff says a hunger strike for 7 Champaign County Jail inmates is over. They had gone without food and water for several days. They say they're being held on high bond, some for more than a year. An advocate says the Pretrial Fairness Act, or elimination of cash bail, would have helped these people get out sooner, but it's been held up in court.
Coming up, we'll let you know what we're working on for our 10 o'clock newscast.
And, well, Kevin's got a little surprise. We'll be right back.
It's a tradition that's been going on for almost 3 decades.
What unofficial on the U of I campus look like in today's weather? That's coming up tonight at 10. So now you're just going to rub it in our faces?
Here we are, guys. Yummy. Of course I'm going to rub it in your face. I mean, come on, what am I supposed to do? It's Kevin's weather on the road. We are at Francie's Pizza in Onarga. Here's the thing, we've been traveling on the roads. I got to tell you, I got to give it to my photographer, Ryan. He's been riding with me, and you know, when you're the passenger in a vehicle and you're trying to travel on these roads, I'm sure it's kind of like, ugh, because they've been a little slick here tonight. We're still battling that, but we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to eat some pizza here tonight. The good news is that snow has stopped falling, but be careful with things kind of freezing back over again later tonight. Pretty good pizza here, guys. I'm glad things are going to calm down. The weekend looks a lot better. I apologize I can't bring this back to you because Onarga is where we're at. It's a little far away. That's the only reason why.
It's okay. It's okay.
Cold pizza still tastes pretty good.
That's true.
Enjoy it. You were doing the heavy lifting today, and Ryan as well. All right, everybody have a great weekend.
We'll see you tonight.
Good luck with your photography biz.
Thank you.
We're going to need to get a road again.
Is this stream still on or are we good?